This is the iPhone blog at GDC 2010, and I'm here with Arthur from Last Day of Work. How's it going, Arthur?
Good, good.
Good. So tell us about your iPhone products.
So our iPhone products are based on our PC products, which are best-selling casual games. The most famous one is the Virtual Villagers series, and we're up to 4 of those now. And we have Virtual Families, which is a Sims-like title, and Fish Tycoon and Plant Tycoon. Now, not all of those are yet on iPhone. Most of them are. And the way we design these games is we design them principally for the casual market on desktop. And we put a lot of content in these. They're much larger and have a lot more depth than typical casual games. Then when we port these to iPhone, which usually happens rather quickly after the development is done, we end up with a game that is just a ridiculously large amount of content for, let's say, $2, right? Because of the prices on iPhone. So one of our differentiating qualities is that the games are enormous and huge. They're not little mini games for 99 cents. They're huge games.
You mentioned the low price point on iPhone games. Is that something that's a challenge to you to consider how much effort to put into a game if you can't sell it for a certain price?
You know, I think that Pocket God has kind of shot that whole theory out of the window, because you can make $2 million 99 cents at a time. I guess that works, right? No one's complaining. The price compression is very real. I think a worse problem on iPhone and iTunes and that whole market in general is teaching people to wait for discounts. So you can set your price to $4.95, but there's a certain group of people now that will wait for it to go down to 99 cents. Now, Apple has been encouraging the price compression by supporting the top 10 lists with units and not with revenue for the large part. Yeah. And that price compression is basically causing everyone to undercut everyone else, and the users now are waiting for prices to be low for the game they want. And if you price it at $5, they may very well just wait.
If you sell it for free, they want $1 back, right?
Exactly.
So did Apple's move from the top paid to top grossing make a difference in that at all, or is that just some kind of a...
I think it did make a difference. It coincided with some of the larger studios coming in, obviously, and EA coming in, and Ubisoft and Eidos coming in with some big guns. And I think it may have been catering to their needs a little bit more than the average indie developer, because now we find ourselves a little bit in between. Our games really have a lot more content and should be priced higher than 99 cents, and most of them are. But they're not higher than $2 or $3 or $4. These large grossing games have a lot of marketing behind them. They're larger games, even beyond by magnitudes what we're doing for desktop or for iPhone. And so that's kind of what's cornering the revenue charts, with the notable exception of Plants vs. Zombies, which is PopCap, and it is a casual game, but they know how to knock them out of the park.
So when you mention a casual game, is this the kind of game that you think people play interstitially, a few minutes here and there, or are you finding that people schedule time to play these kind of games now?
Well, yeah, it's a dangerous thing to use the term casual game. It's such a poorly defined term. For us, it basically, I mean, we abuse the term too, but it means a game that's more accessible and has a more shallow learning curve than the typical core games, and therefore has a broader audience. Our games do happen to have what has been traditionally called the casual demographic of older women and tweens. So that being said, I think that our games aren't the most casual games. PopCaps are more casual, in fact. Our games are just broadly appealing. I mean, basically, we make God games. Yeah. All of our games, you're dragging little people or little creatures around. They've done very well. There's not a lot of games like them. Fish Tycoon has been in the top 15 in simulation for 14, 16 months with no push from us. It just sits there because it's very unique. It essentially is a God game. It's not a typical casual game, but it's very, very easy to pick up. You're playing in 5 seconds, you're dragging fish around, you're feeding them, you're doing stuff like this. That's always been our approach. Let's make games that I want to play. I'm a core gamer. Yeah. But let's make them easy enough for my mom to pick up and give a crack at it.
Do you find that people who play one of your games tend to play all of them, or is each of them targeted at a specific kind of an audience?
We do get a lot of upsell between the Virtual Villagers games, and I think some of that bled over to Virtual Families, which is a more contemporary life simulation. Virtual Families is also doing really well on iPhone. I think it's a great fit. I mean, having a little family in your pocket, and they actually acknowledge you, and they wave to you, and they're kind of like, it's a little pet. It's your little pet family. I think that's worked really well for us, and And there has been some cross-selling between the franchises, but I think Fish Tycoon has stood a little bit apart. It's kind of a different genre. Some people just love having fish in their device. I think a lot of people do. I think that's evident looking at some of the top 10 lists. We certainly have some fans that buy everything we release, sometimes before they even see it. But I think that there's a little bit of separation between the franchises we've put out.
All right, so looking forward to 2010 for you, are you planning to just keep expanding your portfolio or to leverage the same titles that you've been doing so far?
Yeah, well, we are certainly leveraging the titles and trying to exploit the franchises that we've already established. And this is really important on iPhone because we're coming in there with names like Virtual Villagers and Fish Tycoon that people know already from desktop, that have been downloaded tens of millions of times. And without something, you go into iPhone, you either get picked up by Apple and you make a bunch of money, or you disappear into the abyss and you're gone forever on day 2. So it's important that we're stepping in there with titles that people know. That being said, our iPhone production is catching up to our desktop production. It takes us 6 to 9 months to make a new game on desktop, and we're getting them to iPhone much more quickly after that. So we're going to have our iPhone team a little bit idle. So we're probably going to step up and make an original iPhone IP this year, something, lower budget and much more experimental and innovative, hopefully. And hopefully our brand will be enough for it not to fall into the abyss.
Let them flex their muscles a little bit.
Exactly, a little muscle flexing.
So I have to ask the iPad question. I know you've seen it. Steve Jobs swears that all our apps most of our apps will run on it. Are you looking at the iPad as something separate? Are you going to maybe do an iPad-specific version of one of your games?
We already are. We have our games running in the simulator on iPad, and I think it's great. I mean, basically, it's an iPod Touch with better resolution. Why wouldn't we support that? And since we're porting down from desktop with significant changes, it's not at all difficult for us to just scale the graphics down a little bit less and stay native to iPad. There's obviously a lot of debate about the platform, and sometimes I kind of scratch my head and I'm like, well, this is idiotic. It's an iPhone that doesn't fit in your pocket. We're going backwards here. But I'm going to buy it the day it comes out, I have to admit. I'm kind of excited about it. I want to sit on the couch. My wife's watching, Law and Order, and I'm going to be there, playing flight control and playing games on this beautiful, elegant tablet. I'm excited. Yeah.
It's the kind of computer that will pay off in boredom factor alone. You'll be able to just yank it out without having to boot up anything.
Well, I don't know if you're going to be yanking it out. It doesn't fit in anything. But I think it's pretty hot. I'm excited about it. So I'm bullish about it. I think it will certainly cause revenue increases for people that embrace it quickly. So we're on board. All
right, so just as a little treat for our readers, are there any tips or tricks you can share that'll help with Virtual Villagers or Fish Tycoon to get a little bit more out of the game?
We do stick a lot of Easter eggs in the games, and there's Easter eggs that are kind of really hidden and so small that people may not even notice them. I'll have to think about this a little bit. Virtual Families, which has been doing really well on iPhone and is picking up speed out of nowhere, kind of a sleeper hit, is a game where you adopt a little family. And one of the interesting challenges of the game is that the first thing you do is you adopt someone, you find someone you like, and then they start dating online. And every once in a while they'll get a little email and you have to check. And you might be selective. You might get an email every half an hour at first. And you might be like, well, I want this person who has the same career so that they can work together in the house, or I might want someone who's starting with a big bank account. And one of the things that people don't realize is that we put a mechanic in the game so that the older you get, the less often these marriage requests start to come in. So it kind of forces players to settle. You're like, well, as your virtual person ages in real time at an accelerated rate, in a couple days maybe they're getting to 40. The invitations are trickling in. You might want to, settle for someone a little more quickly. Maybe someone with a lot of money, or maybe someone who's just a great fit.
Okay, excellent. So thank you very much. This was Arthur from Last Day of Work at GDC 2010.
My pleasure. Thanks.